according to the clock on my laptop, it is 4:15, so I would like to welcome board members, staff, and guests to the February 22nd meeting of the South Bend Public Library, St. Joseph County Public Library Board meeting. I don't even know who I'm talking to. With that, it is my, I'm going to request that visitors who are not signed in to please sign in the chat room. And there is a portion of the meeting after our agenda items where we will ask for comments for or the hearing of visitors. So please sign into the chat if you would, so we know who our visitors are. And at the appropriate time in the agenda, we will ask for hearing from our visitors. It comes toward the end of the meeting. So welcome to all. I will start by calling the meeting to order and determining a quorum. I will ask each board member to reply that they are there and that they did in fact receive materials that were sent out. So let's start with Sally Carlin.
Present and received.
Marvin Curtis.
Present and received.
Alan Feldbaum.
Present, and I did receive the board packet.
Thank you. Augie Frida.
Present, and I received the packet.
Terry Rensberger.
Present, and yes, I received.
Ann Rosen.
Present, and I received the packet.
And I am present, and I have received the packet. With that, I would like to say there were minutes of several meetings that were sent out with the board packet, and I think that the only meeting agenda that we have to approve is the meeting for our regular board meeting. The annual meeting and the meeting of the Finance Committee would be approved, I believe, during our next annual meeting. Am I correct, Jim?
Jim, don't they normally approve them all the next meeting rather than a year from now?
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll do them all.
Yeah.
All right, the minutes were sent out. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of our, pardon?
I moved.
Okay, thank you.
A second.
Okay,
Second.
any comments? I will go through the roll for a vote. Sally? Marvin?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye.
Augie?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
And I approve. So it is moved and approved for the minutes from our regular board meeting. Now we'll go to the minutes for the annual meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
And- Got it. Any comments, corrections? I will go through the roll. Sally?
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye.
Augie?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
And I also say aye. So the minutes for the annual meeting are approved. The next meeting was the annual meeting of the Finance Committee. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any comments? All right, roll. Sally?
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye.
Augie?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So that meeting is also approved. Those were the three meetings, correct?
Yes.
We're good. We're good to go on. With that, I would like to have Deb give her director's report.
Thank you. In case you missed it, I wanted to let you know that we closed all of our locations on Tuesday, February 16th for the weather. While we knew most of the storm had passed by that time, the winds were still expected to make blowing and drifting a problem through the morning, and the temperatures were below zero that day. So I'm very grateful to our facilities team who hit the road around 5 a.m. so we could make the call. I know they weren't I learned that the school corporation is out there at 3 a.m. and we didn't quite make that, but it was 5 a.m. when they were on the road. Moving into statistics, we've been working with several new tools to bring you a more meaningful set of numbers every month. So instead of the 8 pages of numbers that you have seen for so long, we're converting some key indicators into charts and graphs. And Jenny Henneke is here. It was her team that kind of led that charge, and she's going to walk you through the new framework. And then we'll see if you have any questions or suggestions for how this can go forward, because it is new for all of us, and we want to make it as useful to you as possible. So, Jenny.
Right. Hello, everyone. So I can either share my screen, or I don't know if everyone has the document open. But just to, I guess, Rachel, would it be okay if I shared? Okay.
Sharing would be good. Thank you.
All right. That's what I thought. Let me see. There we go. So many tabs. All right, so here we are. So we really wanted to start the new year kind of looking at our data in a new way. And one of the changes, which it's just words, but words are important. And we frame this as a patron engagement statistics report, because a lot of the measurements that we chose address the ways that we engage with our patrons. And that's how we can measure how we're doing. So a small team, including Bruce, who produced the reports before, and a few other members, Lisa and Sarah, we went through and we picked out a few of the key indicators from the old report in order to include here. The two main differences that you'll see are it's mostly visual. So we went heavy on the charts and graphs and light on the hard numbers. And also we didn't break things out by branch. This way we have a full look at how the system is doing. And it's a little bit easier to see trends and interpret the data this way. So I'll give you a quick walkthrough. We broke everything up into categories. So materials, card holders, locations, visits, digital services, information services, and then programming. With materials, we have this pie chart right here shows the proportion of physical and digital. And I think this is a good indicator of like how you can slice and dice data so many ways. And this might be things that we can talk about in the future, but it shows that physical materials are still leading on digital, but there are some intricacies within that. And then the second chart shows total population, and this includes.
Just before you leave this one, I have a question. The
Oh, yeah.
Active card holders, what determines active?
That is anyone that has used their card in the past year.
Okay.
And the caveat to that is it doesn't include any activities for which a person doesn't have to use their card. So notably, that would be computer use, Wi-Fi, and programming. So it's not a full picture of how people are using us, but it at least shows in terms of checkouts and circulation, how many people are actively using the library.
Okay.
So with total circulation includes physical materials, digital materials, renewals. And then if we go down here by circulation by audience, that is, it's just physical, but it's broken out by the type of material. So adult, teen, and youth. So that's not adults checking out things, that's people checking out adult materials. And then going down to where Terry was speaking to, the active card holders is a new number, that and card holder retention. And those are both metrics that we're pulling from Orange Boy, which you guys have heard about that a few times. And we're trying to leverage some of the other tools that we have besides just where we were getting our statistics from in the past. But the total cardholder number that's being pulled the same way that it was on the other report. And this new cardholder retention is an interesting number because it reflects how many people are continuing to use their card after they signed up for a year. So it's really showing like how effectively we are engaging and keeping our new cardholders active after they first signed up. And
Jenny,
then this other,
I'm sorry. Jenny, didn't you also tell me that 44% is actually really good retention compared to a lot of libraries? So it may look like we're losing people, but you know, some people just pop in and do something and then don't come back for another year. But this is actually a good number.
Yep, that is very true. And we can see a little bit how we compare to other libraries by size and by budget in Orange Boy. So we have a sense of what our baseline is and how we're doing. So that is very true. So this chart right here just shows monthly cardholder signups by month. So you can kind of see, and this with all of these, with total circulation and monthly cardholder signups, one difference from the past is you can actually see how we're doing compared to last year in a running trend. So with this one, you can see in September, there was a big spike because we signed up a lot of student cards at the beginning of the school year. So we had a big spike there. And then so we can see how we're comparing to the previous year, which apart from being lower, we're pretty much tracking generally the cycle throughout the year. So on the second page, we have location visits, and this shows the one here on
Jenny?
Mhm. Yeah.
On these charts, previous year is 2019?
Yes, it's a rolling year. So
Gotcha.
the January, which is actually the month we're in, is going to be on your left. And we did that so that we could actually show the most amount of data in a single chart. So yeah, you're kind of like, if you're looking at this January point right here, this is January 2021, and then you get into 2020 as you go along the line, and then 2019 is the second year. But that's why we called it previous year, current year, because it will ebb and flow as we get further along in the year. But we figured that it might be a little more helpful, especially in the beginning of the year, instead of having just one data point in January and not really being able to see the information that preceded that. So thank you for mentioning that. So with location visits, curbside is both physical materials and then also text curbside services, so laptop checkouts. And you can really see when we reopened or when we opened curbside in April and how things spiked. And it's interesting how when we reduced our hours again in the winter months, how curbside again went up. And then gate count includes curbside. So that is both people door as well as curbside visits. Digital services is computer use and Wi-Fi usage. Those both get pulled from the same data sets that we were using before. So there's nothing too surprising there. Information services are reference questions, and these include anything except for directional questions. So they could be by phone, they could be online, or they could be in-person questions. And you can really see clearly here how much information services have been important, despite there's been a reduction in a lot of our different services, but because of how much people are using us for social service help and things like that, we've tracked pretty well with the previous year. And then finally, totals. This is the number of programs. So there were tons of ways that we could have represented this data. And we figured for this first go around, we would do number of programs just to show the quantity of programming that we're offering. And obviously it's much reduced. The blue is this current month. It's much reduced from past, except in virtual. So you can see where we've kind of diverted our energies. And if you scroll down to the third page, which is the spreadsheet, we do have more specific information about outreach and experiences, which are two other forms of engagement that we have. But the programming chart just shows in-house programs. And then if you want to look at all the hard numbers and just see it that way, the third page has one old spreadsheet for old time's sake. So were there any other questions about the data?
Yeah, this is excellent. Just so much easier to grasp than the reams of numeric data. I do have a question. Since this, like the materials, is the entire system, and I would agree we don't need to see every branch, but is that tracked in some way? So if you knew a branch was doing poorly or doing better, I don't know that we would need a chart, but I'm assuming it must get broken down somehow, somewhere.
We have, Orange Boy has a lot of this information, and actually all branch managers can go on and filter by their branch to get specific information like this. And on maybe a way to have some sort of more broken out information sent out to branch managers. So it's still something we want people to have access to, but for kind of just digestibility, this is an easy way to sort of take the temperature of the entire system.
Good word.
So from my, the charts I think are great, and that's fine. I would personally, I don't need to see all the data, but I'd like to see personally at least one sheet on a monthly basis that's got branch information. I mean, for example, it could have gate counts for each branch, and it could also have, maybe you don't have to break all of the statistics down, but from the standpoint, I forget what they were, but maybe things actually checked out, maybe Wi-Fi usage. If you all can pick 3 or 4 statistics that are representative, just to give us a sense on a quick basis, you know, what's going on in the branches. I think that's always been helpful for me, just to get a sense of kind of what's going on. So I don't want to kind of lose track of that, just for my own personal. I don't know if anybody else.
No, that's pretty much what I was saying too, I think.
Yeah.
And we wondered too, we had, I know Jenny's team and others have worked really hard on this, and we did have some discussions before we gave it to you, thinking, well, is this really going to be what you want to see? So I think you can consider it kind of a work in progress. We're going to iterate until we get it.
Oh, great.
To the point where everybody's really happy with it. But yeah, we still are tracking the branch numbers, so there's no reason we can't show you some.
Sure, that'd be great.
Strikes me to be also interesting to see, you know, how you've got right now a list of like the number of programs that are offered, which is amazing. I personally would love to know more about, you know, which ones are really, you know, hitting people where they need, and which ones, you know, and what you're learning about what the community's needing, and that kind of thing.
One of the things we want to track a little heavier, or a lot heavier, is outcomes. I mean, what you see on this report is really outputs. It's just numbers, but it doesn't tell us how well we're doing, exactly what you said, Sally, how well we're reaching people. And so we're going to be working on ways to get at those outputs. And a lot of it is some kind of survey data that we've always struggled with, but that's where we want to head. It doesn't make any difference if you do it, if nobody cares that you did it. So we want to make sure we're hitting targets.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you. And
Awesome.
add
Awesome job.
those additions for next time.
Thanks, Jenny. I'll keep going a little bit. In the finance report, the only thing I want to point out to you, and we want to make that one cleaner too. Part of me just wants to give you that front page and scrap the rest, because that's the one that I really look at. But on the fund report, which is that first page, the 4th line down, you'll see labeled contractual. And this is the distribution that we got from dissolving the cluster group. When we split up all the funds, that was our portion. So I think what we're going to do right now is retain it in this fund for the foreseeable future. As long as it's not in operating, we don't have to budget for it as part of the state budget process. We have more discretion on how we can use that money. So we'll keep it in there for now, but I just wanted you to know that's what it was.
Okay.
Briefly, for Maine Library projects, the Maine Library progress, the Mason is in there working on brickwork in smaller sections as we're waiting for the cast stone and the granite to be delivered. And right now it's the south side annex that's underway. So if you drive by and you see that's all tarped, that's what's going on. The brick is going in. Steel workers are adding decking to the auditorium, and then they're going to pour concrete for the auditorium deck and the southwest stairs, so both ends of that annex. And that should be this week, weather permitting. Local history is getting their millwork going, and we've looked at that a couple of times. That's going to look really nice when it's wrapped, and the colors are starting to emerge. Last week, because of the weather, roofing was at a standstill, but we're hoping, I think, that this week the slate should resume. And I know we've got Billy and Andrews folks on the call, so they'll shake their heads at me if I get it wrong. Window work is happening on the 1st and 2nd floors at Maine Library. Restroom tiles are going in, and that might not sound exciting, but it was really nice to see all these things that we chose so many months ago starting to actually go into locations and think, yeah, it really looks good. And the drywall has started on the 3rd floor annex, so that's coming along. Our team at Ramsey has been anxious to visit. Normally they would have been here several times, but because of the pandemic, they haven't been traveling. So, but Alex Lamas is on his 2nd round of vaccines, and so he's hoping to visit sometime in March or early April, and it will be good to see somebody from Ramsey on site. Arcos has been doing a great job, I think, of handling the design work, and Bullion Andrews is doing great at the construction management end of it. But it will be nice to have Alex here. He's so interested in what's going on, but he hasn't been able to visit, so it's been difficult. We kind of have a lot of projects underway now that the pandemic doesn't appear to be taking all of our time, and I just want to mention 2 of them that are and there'll be more to come as we go forward. Lisa O'Brien has taken on the Friends of the Library and is working with a fairly new board, and I think I've mentioned that before. But there's a lot of enthusiasm with this group, and they formed 2 new task forces. One is to create a strategy for board recruitment because we're down a number of members. People like Christine termed out because Christine had been on the board forever. So
30 years, yes.
Yeah. So we have vacancies because of term limits. The other one is for fundraising on behalf of the library. So I think this is all going in a good direction for the Friends. And I want to thank Lisa. She's done some really good work with that team.
So just a clarification, so basically after 30 years, you have to take 2 years off. Of the what that is?
Actually, there was, I think that the original rule was you stayed on the board till you died. And then we finally put together,
30 years
yes,
now.
yes.
Okay.
And they finally put together some procedures where term limits were put into effect. So I don't think that there will be any more 30-year members. But if you were on the board when I was on the board, there were people there that were at the first board meeting ever from 1976 till they finally termed out. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a very new board. There are a couple of people that have been on for a little while, but mostly new people. The other thing I wanted to mention is that it's been a while since we really looked at all of our job descriptions to see how they fit into pay grades. So it was my team who recently completed training in the National Position Evaluation Plan, that's a mouthful, from HR Source in Illinois. And we've used that firm as a consultant for years when they were called Management Association of Illinois. So we're kind of familiar with their work, and they're really reputable. Although we've been working with the system for a long time, we had a lot of new people in place. And so we needed another round of intensive training in order to really review our jobs. So what they're doing right now is reviewing and updating all of our job descriptions and ranking each position. And we expect folks to kind of land in different pay grades as those things have changed over the years. We haven't re-ranked jobs, I think, since about 2004. So we are overdue. And then the next step will be to gather salary survey data for our pay grades. And I think you can expect to see a pay grade adjustment in 2022. What that looks like right now, we have no idea. Once we get the salary data in and we do some evaluation, we'll know. But those things are underway. And I think that's my report.
Do we
Deb,
have questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Deb, I know this is a little early, but have you all talked about the celebration when the library opens yet?
We are talking, yes. Our hope is that we will be hitting this. Jenny and I have had some mutual happy dancing because we think that we will be just about out of COVID when we open. And so we will be able to do something in person, and we want to make it pretty good size. The other thing is, Marvin, we're talking about doing maybe a year-long celebration. Mm-hmm. And so we will have, rather than try to crowd everything into one weekend, we will have events that kind of go on for a year. And as we get into the regular agenda, Jenny's going to do a presentation on the rebranding effort, and that's a part of what this opening, I think, will be. We want to get that work done before we open. But yeah, I wish we were a little farther along, but the pandemic has made it really hard to plan. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're on it. So
the other question I have is, I can't remember the size of the auditorium, seating wise.
250.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good size.
Other questions for Deb? Do I have a motion to approve the director's report?
So move.
Second.
We have a move and a second. Any further discussion? Let me call the roll. Sally,
Aye.
Marvin,
Aye, with pleasure.
Alan,
Aye.
Augie,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Anne,
Aye.
and I say aye, so that is approved. Thank you. Next, we'll go on to the library bill list for February 2021. Nancy?
Yes, this actually is a very standard bill list, but you know, I always like to find something that I can call your attention to. If you can go to, it would be the third page of the bill list, which is page 2 of 4. And right about down in the middle, there is a vendor called Hippo Facility. This is a vendor that we are purchasing a, I had the words, kind of a tracking system for maintenance jobs. So that if you need something done in your office, light bulbs are out, I can put in a request and the maintenance department can track it through this software. We have a similar product for IT. It's called Issue Track, and they use it to track all of the problems that we submit to them. The other thing I'd like to point out on this page, and if you go from Hippo, if you go up about 5 or 6 lines to Goff, and you'll see that the department or the fund that it's coming out of is Community Foundation Gift Construction. We received some information from the State Board of Accounts on the best way to track the funds coming from the Community Foundation. They suggested that we not mix them into our construction funds, but to put them into a separate gift fund. So you will see several of the contractors who are doing work on the annex building being paid out of that fund right now. It also, I should mention that the State Board of Accounts also required us to change all of our fund numbers. So if you look at the monthly financial report that Deb gave you, and if you compare it to the previous month, it's going to be in a different order. And so this is the new order that you'll be seeing from now on. Our operating or our general fund is 100, and that comes at the top. But instead of construction coming right after it, we now have gift and rainy day and contractual in the order of the funds that the State Board has decided that we need to use so that you can compare one library to another and look at the same fund numbers. Well, it's very irritating for us because I can't remember any of those numbers yet. It certainly will be easier to compare with the other libraries. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions about any of the vendors or the charges if you have them.
Christine, you're muted.
Then you probably can't hear me. Could I have a motion to approve the library bill list?
So moved.
We have
Second.
a motion and a second. Any further discussion? With that, let me call the roll. Sally?
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye.
Augie?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Anne?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so that motion is approved. The next item is personnel changes, and I was happy to see.
We have to approve the gift log first, the 3 gifts.
You know, that is your role to remind us to approve the gift log. Thank you very much. Could we have a statement about the gifts coming in?
Ooh. And just from the notes, that these are annual fund gifts that Lisa has been soliciting and that people have been sending in. And you can see that the middle one is designated for the renovation.
Thank you very much. Do I have a
And-
motion to approve the
to-
gift log?
So
By the
moved.
way, just
And-
the only thing is that I think the 3 gifts actually, I think they
The
total
total-
3,500, not
They
2,500.
sure do.
Oh, thank you, Alan.
Yeah. So I move we approve the acceptance of the 3 gifts on page 62 of our report, totaling $3,500.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Terry. With that, I will call roll. Sally,
Aye.
Marvin,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Augie,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So we will approve acceptance of the gifts, the gift log, the amended gift log. Thank you very much. Now we will move to personnel changes. And those of you who looked at it, and we all did, it looked like a good report. 2 promotions, a few new hires and rehires, and only one that I have a little question about, the non-FMLA request. So Deb or whomever.
Let
want
me
to-
handle, yeah. I'm pleased to announce that we promoted Bob Goethals from Assistant Facilities Manager to the manager position to replace Bruce Burnett. And we are really happy that Bob has just kind of been able to seamlessly step in. I think he's on the call this afternoon. We're also welcoming Joe Geffrick as Assistant Facilities Manager. Joe grew up in the area, but he's been in Florida doing facilities management for a theater company. I'm not sure he knows what he got himself into coming back to this Indiana winter we're having, but we're really happy he's come back home. And then, as I mentioned earlier about re-ranking our positions, we've completed a redefinition on the securities manager position, and we've moved our manager, Charles Burnside, to a new pay grade, which is a promotion. So Christine, the non-FMLA request, I don't know if we can speak about that. That would be HIPAA protected, I think. I'm looking at Kara Kara's nodding. But if you want to ask us offline, we'll be happy to address it.
Nope, I just saw that it was there.
Okay.
So it was a short and happy human resource report.
Yes.
Can we have a motion to approve?
So moved. Oh, I'll be quiet.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? With that, I will call the roll. Sally,
Aye.
Marvin,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Augie,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. With that, the personnel change report is approved. Number 7 is reports of special library board committees. To my knowledge, no special board committee meetings were held, so we can move on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business to report? Yes, no, there's nothing listed under unfinished business, so we can move into our new business, beginning with change orders for the Maine Library project. Who will be going through those changes for us, with us?
My name is Antonia Winfrey with Bully and Andrews, and I will be going through those changes. We have one change for green demolition, which was floor patching in the renovation space for $59,985. For structural steel services, there was a credit for ASI 30, PR 34, Rev 1, ASI 51 for a deduct a credit of $200. Shamba, and you're going to notice a trend here with a lot of these different trades. We took back the scaffolding allowance that we had. So that affected several other trades. So for Shamba, there were two changes. One as an ad for $1,523 for their third floor work, second floor MEP work. And then there was a deduct, a credit back for the scaffolding allowance for $5,000 for an overall cost decrease of $3,477. For the existing third floor windows, as you guys recall, we did change out the windows in this space and we needed to install new blocking. The blocking was installed by Larson Danielson for a cost of a time and material cost of $7,933. For EJ White, that is the plumber. We are tracking the allowances that we have to date, as well as providing a credit for the scaffolding allowance for $5,000. For Esteban, we also have a $5,000 credit, a deduct of $5,000 as well. For Precision, there was a ad for ASI 51 for $740. For Mechanical Concepts, they also provided the scaffolding allowance for $5,000. The elevator cab interiors have been selected and approved, and that change for the interior cabs for the two existing elevators in the renovation space, the main library, is $40,240. And then for Zokowski, we have a $4,305 change for the gate column details. Do you guys have any questions on the report?
On your, no, never mind. I see what it is. Never mind. I'm good.
There's a couple of things I wanted to mention before you go forward to the floor patching. There was an allowance for floor patching in the project, but once they got all of the flooring material up in the main library, there were several places where there had been earlier patching that we didn't know about. There had been a cementitious material, I think, that was kind of coming up in crumbles. And so this was extensive floor patching that we didn't anticipate. But I really want to thank the B&A team because they really were on it, I think, and got it done at a reasonable cost considering the extent of what was going on there. So unforeseen, but still, you know, and we're happy with the way it turned out. And then I also wanted to mention, and as Antonia mentioned on the scaffolding credits, we're still paying for that scaffolding, but what we're doing is backing the costs out of the construction budget, hence the credits, and we're going to treat the scaffolding as a soft cost, kind of like we did the asbestos removal. So we'll issue a purchase order directly from us for all of it, and it's kind of a paper shuffle, but it makes a difference in where we take the funds to pay for the work. So we have plenty of cash reserves on hand in our operating and in our LRF funds, and this preserves the construction budget a little bit. So I just wanted to let you know that's what we're doing.
Thank you. With that, we're going to approve line by line the different items, and Antonia did it in one order. I'm going to be doing it in alphabetical order. So I'm going to start with EJ White for a reduction of $5,000 for miscellaneous changes and the scaffolding allowance. Motion to approve?
So move. Oops.
Christine, I think you can.
I should read them all?
Yeah, and then just do one motion. Yeah. That
would certainly save some time. Okay, for green demolition, we see an increase of $59,985 for floor patching. Herman and Getz, an increase of $7,784 for lighting and electrical changes and the scaffolding allowance. Larson Danielson, a $7,933 change or increase for third floor windows. Mechanical Concepts, a deduction of $5,000, the scaffolding allowance. Oosterbein and Sons, another $5,000 reduction in scaffolding allowance. Precision Wall Systems, an increase of $740 for framing. I lost my place. Schindler Renovation, an increase of $40,240 for elevator cab interiors. Shambaugh and Son, a decrease, reduction of $3,477 for MEP revisions and scaffolding allowance. Structural Steel, a reduction of $200 for the elevator cab interiors. And last, Zolkowski Construction, an increase of $4,305 for gate column details. This comes to a total change of $102,310. With that, do I have a motion to approve the changes?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Okay, I will go through the roll. Sally?
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye.
Augie?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Anne?
Aye.
And I vote aye for approval of the change orders. Thank you. Next, we will go through the bid awards for Maine Library furniture and shelving. Maybe we can get some background information and a discussion of the recommendations that are coming before us.
Well, first of all, I'll kick it off and then we'll turn it over to Sally maybe, who's here. But I'm really pleased to let you know that the furnishing and the shelving bids came in lower than we anticipated. And we still have a lot of equipment to purchase for this project, like a new sorter and security cameras and scanners and other equipment, but this is going to give us some breathing room on all of it. So I think it's really good news that the bidding was very competitive. This does not replace every piece of furniture at the Maine Library, but it replaces a lot of it, probably 2/3 to 3/4, I think, of the soft furnishings. There's a custom package and almost all of the shelving. We're reusing some shelving, but you may remember we had a lot of 90-inch shelving and we really got rid of that. And so we're replacing it with lower shelving where you have more eyesight and it's going to look more like a bookstore. So you have an official letter from Sally Engelmeyer recommending the bid awards and a legal opinion from Mr. Masters. And I don't know how you'd like to proceed, Christine, whether you'd like Sally to take it from here and go through their recommendation. That might be the best way to go.
I think that would be the way to go.
Okay.
Yes, Sally?
Yeah, Deb outlined most of it there. We took the bids, I think it was the 8th. And there's a summary letter in your board packet that lists all the bids that were received. And we went through each packet looking to make sure everything was in order with the bids that were received. And those are also listed as footnotes in the summary of the bid tab that you have. So then the letter is our recommendation, which I believe is for the lowest of the received responsive and responsible bidders.
Okay, well, we have the letter in front of us. Is there anything more that you'd like to say about the custom furniture, the general furniture, and the library shelving?
I have a question.
Okay.
The furniture that's being replaced, what becomes of it?
We've sold a lot of it, in fact, most of it that's been replaced at sales before we closed Maine Library. We had a number of what we called garage sales, and we hauled things over to the building that we demoed and sold them that way. So most of it's gone.
Okay.
There are a few things that may be hanging around that we'll sell afterward if we tend not to need them, but everything's been disposed of except the shelving, which we're using right now at Brown School. That's still around.
Okay,
Madam President,
yes, help me
Might I-
with this.
might
Yes.
I suggest that Sally read to you
Yes,
what the bids were and then what the recommended low bid is for you to approve?
that would be helpful. Thank you very much. Could you do that for us, Sally? You're muted.
Trying to just go between a couple of documents. Okay, so for bid package C, oops. We have office interiors at $281,508.01. Business furnishings, $288,803.93. And KPC architectural products, $700,621.76. And we are recommending office interiors as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for that package.
If you go through all three, then we can vote on the recommendations at the end, I'm assuming.
Okay.
Okay.
Then for bid package G, we had office interiors at $601,512.95. Business furnishings, $614,000, $614,364.20. Michigan office environment, $749,783.64. There is an asterisk there next to business furnishings. We can kind of talk about with that. And Jim had a letter in reference to that as well. Basically two bids in that package. An alternate bid was also included that included items that were pre-approved and therefore could have been put in the base bid, but only the bid shown for business furnishings. The bid shown for them was the only one included on a Form 96. So the alternate bid in their packet did not have a state Form 96 included for that number. Moving on to bid package S, library, so back to the G, which is why we are recommending office interiors as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for that package. Bid package S, library shelving, Space Saver Storage Systems, Bradford Systems, Inc., $308,649. KPC Architectural Products, $324,978.10. Mylon Manufacturing, $408,960. And Business Furnishings, $543,796.08. And again, we are recommending the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, which was Space Saver Storage Systems.
Thank you. So what we are looking for approval is for bid package C, custom furniture to office interiors. For bid package G, general furniture to office interiors, Inc. And bid package S, library shelving to Space Saver Storage Systems, Inc. / Bradford Systems, Inc. Do I have a motion to approve?
Madam President, do you want me to expound upon this before you vote?
If you would like to, that would be great.
Well, I expect we should.
Okay.
There should be, I'm sure, in your packet, an opinion letter from me concerning bid
Right.
package G. Every once in a while, when we go out for bids, a bid is received that is mathematically the lowest, but for a reason it has to be rejected because it doesn't comply with either state law or the specifications, and that's what we have here. Bid Furnishings actually submitted two bids. One was for $614,364 and some pennies. There was a document included in their envelope labeled alternate bid for $594,949, which is mathematically the lowest. There's several problems with that. It is a standalone document not included on a Form 96, and state law requires that bids be submitted on a Form 96. Now, the details of the specifications are require that if you have substitute furnishings, which apparently this is, they have to be submitted to the architect to be approved, which these were. But they are then called pre-approved equals. And pre-approved equals are required under the specifications to be submitted as part of the base bid. These alternates were not. The specifications also say that when you have voluntary alternates, meaning bidder submits alternate materials that are not part of the specifications, and even though these were approved, those voluntary alternates are required to be on a bid form supplement. And this is spelled out in the specifications, and it's not. And so, you know, we are in an unfortunate position where what would be the mathematical lowest bid has to be discounted because it's not a responsive bid. State law requires you to accept responsive bids, meaning bids that comply with both law and the specifications, and this lowest bid does not. And so it can't be considered to be the lowest responsive and responsible bid. Both bidders are considered to be responsible. All these bidders are, meaning that they're capable of doing the work. The reason I expound upon this is the law requires that when you do not accept the lowest mathematical bid, you are to state your reasons on the record at the meeting. I would submit to you my comments, and the written opinion that I gave to you should be made part of the record here to show why the board is, if you accept the recommendation, while you are accepting the recommendation to go with what essentially is the second lowest bid. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Jim?
Yes, I do have a question. A bidder that was non-responsive due to the reasons you stated, are they disallowed from rebidding?
Well, once you open the bids, the cat is out of the bag. You can't rebid then.
Well, okay, yeah, I see your point. Yeah, you got it. You're right.
We can get into all the details, but there have been occasions where if a bidder leaves off something that is not a statutory requirement or is not required by the specs, you know, we'll allow that to be corrected. I mean, the law, in fact, allows you to do that. That's not the occasion here. And of course, once the bids are open, you can't change them.
Right, so they couldn't re-enter that same amount under new paperwork? Because it's done, right?
It's done.
Okay. Got it.
Any other questions for Jim? Or anyone for Sally? All right. Now could I have a motion to approve the recommendations?
Sure. So I move that we accept for bid package C, that we accept the bid from Office Interiors. And for bid package G, we accept the bid package also from Office Interiors. And for bid package S, we S like Sam, we accept the bid of Space Saver Storage Systems. Those are all the lowest bids, and that we incorporate the opinion letter from Mr. Masters into the record to explain the problems with bid package G and why we disallowed that we did not award to Business Furnishings their alternative, their other, how we want to say it, Jim, the paperwork that was there that was non-conforming.
Second.
Further discussion? With that, let me call the roll. Sally?
Aye.
Marvin,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Augie,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
I vote aye, and it is approved. Thank you very much. Next, we have a presentation, our library rebranding plan. There's no board action required, but we will introduce Jenny to do her presentation.
Hello, I'm back.
Hello.
You get a lot of me today. All right, I'm going to share my screen again. There we go. Okay. So, and I have notes on my phone, so if I'm looking down a little bit, that's why. But so I'm back, and this time to talk to you about a project that at least conceptually has been in the works for quite a while now. And we're about to get it kicked off in earnest very soon, as in tomorrow. So it's pretty exciting. The gist of it is that we will be working with Pathfinders to brand and position the library for the future. And before I get into the details of the project, I'm going to kind of give you some of the background reasons on why we decided to do this. Oh, here we go. So, you know, Marvin, when you mentioned how it might be too soon to start thinking about the reopening, most days I actually have to calm myself down that we still have about 8 or 9 months before we're back in the main library, and we have plenty of time, hopefully, to get all of the things that need to get done before then happen. But when I think about that, I'm also imagining that it's not just going to be us in the building. The building hopefully will be filled with all of the people, the families, the students, the computer users, the book lovers, everyone that we desperately miss these days especially. And even if COVID hadn't happened, we still would be missing them because we're not in the main library and we're not seeing the same people all the time. And when I think about the opening of Maine, or the reopening of Maine Library and the opening of the new Community Learning Center, I hope that among all of the faces that we see, we also see many, many new faces. People who are new to the library, maybe people who have never walked through our doors, and maybe people who have never even received or gotten the library card. So there's a lot of potential, I think, there, and a lot of hope for what this new building could be for our community. And when I consider the question, or when I consider this vision, I have asked myself the question of, like, why now? Why are we suddenly going to draw all these new people in like I hope we do? And some of it might be that we've all been cooped up for about 1.5 years. And as Deb mentioned, hopefully as the main library reopens, the world will also be in the process of reopening in a bigger way. But even before all of this, when I thought about this question, it was because we have built a beautiful, inspiring, and infinitely usable library for everyone. And I imagine that they all know and understand the value that the library has for them. But this is actually the first and the greatest challenge that we have to face. And that's making sure that they know about the new library, and more fundamentally, that they understand what the library does and how it is useful for them. So that is just a challenge we kind of have to confront every single day. And all right, so branding, what is branding? And I apologize because some of this may be repetitive, or you already know this, but like data, I get very excited about branding. It's just exciting and interesting. So I'm gonna go over just a quick background. So when we think about branding, most often we think about logos, colors, and taglines. So I threw up a bunch of very familiar brands here: Target, Apple, Nike, Trader Joe's. And all of these logos and taglines, they conjure sort of feelings within us, or, you know, like some experience that we've had with each of these brands or products. And that's because branding is more about how people perceive us and the experience that they have with a product or a service. And so the visuals and the taglines are they go a long way to helping this out, to like framing the experience that you have. So Nike is a good example because it's a very familiar logo. We all know and recognize this logo, and the tagline do it. But what both of these stand for are power, bold, action, and that's really what Nike wants you to feel. So that, you know, I sort of believe that if I were to buy shoes, Nike shoes, I would be able to run. I know that's not true. I'm never going to be able to run very fast, but their logo is so successful and their brand is so successful that they make me believe it could happen. And that's why a brand and branding work is really powerful. Libraries, let's see, there we go. Most of these are from our library. Libraries already have a brand, and that's because most people have a frame of reference for what a library is and what it does. We've been around long enough that we just have this sort of built-in series of expectations and experiences. And this is both a benefit and a challenge. The problem is that the perception that people have of what a library is doesn't always entail everything that a library is. And it may not take into account some of the evolution that we've experienced over the years. Also, and this I think is a bigger issue, sometimes the perception also includes the feeling that a library isn't useful to them, or it's not something that they need in this particular time of their lives. And the reason this is a problem is because that doesn't beg exploration. So successful brands are things that you want to learn a little bit more, and they kind of invite you in. And sometimes if you feel like something isn't for you, you don't bother to explore deeper and actually learn and find out what there is there for you. So in order to make our services more recognizable, we have to be very aware of what the community thinks about us and what their perception of the library already is. So this is something we pulled together for Pathfinders so that they can get to know us a little bit better. On one side of the screen, you can see a brief timeline, an abbreviated timeline of SJCPLs over the years. And then on the other side, you can see a sample of some of our current logos and visuals that fall under the umbrella of what SJCPL is. So we are a lot of things to a lot of different people. And the reopening of Maine Library, unique opportunity to make a really big splash in our community. And it's the perfect time to evaluate our brand and to reflect on how we're showing up in the community. To kind of look back on where we've been and see where we're going, maybe tweak things if needed, and also to be consistent. So make sure that across the branches with the new Maine Library and with the Community Learning Center, we're presenting ourselves in the best possible way consistently in all these areas. So the goals of this project are back there. To create a strong position for the new library and SJCPL in the community, to build excitement and investment in the library, and then of course to attract and engage more people. And that's a big one, especially with the Maine Library reopening. There we go. So Pathfinders. We began to search for a partner to do this work with last year, actually. And it was just in January. We met with a few different agencies and organizations to see if we could find the right fit. And we decided to engage Pathfinders, which is a local advertising to help us do this work. So they've been in the business for over 40 years. Some of you may have either worked with them before or heard of them. They work with national and local organizations. And here's a few of the brands that they've worked with. Locally, they've worked with Visit South Bend, Mishawaka, and also the city of South Bend. And I spoke with both Rob DeClean and also the city's communication team to kind of get their impressions on how the relationship worked. And everyone was really excited and satisfied with working with Pathfinders. So we're pretty excited about that. So the process is going to be the real work will begin tomorrow. Actually, we're having an initial immersion session with the Pathfinders team. And this is going to be a way for them to get to know us, get to know the library, for us to share our knowledge, and talk about challenges, goals, vision for the future. And then after this session, Pathfinders will work on developing brand position for us, a creative umbrella, a new logo, and some naming architecture so that we can better represent the branches among the St. Joseph County Public Library name. And the brand style guide will be the final deliverable. All right, so just to wrap this up real quick, this branding work that we're going to do will give us the tools to our interactions with the community and to make sure that as we reopen Maine Library, we're in the best possible position to reach further into the community than we ever have before. And so hopefully this has given you a rough overview of what we're doing and why. And I really look forward to sharing updates about our progress at future meetings. So, and if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to.
Well, before questions come up, I just want to thank you for the presentation. And I never thought of it this way, but what a wonderful alignment of the stars. As we're exiting the pandemic, we're reopening our main library to change the world in our community. And along with what we're doing is everything that the city is doing, making the downtown more walkable and more people living downtown. I think it's coming together in a nice way. But with that, I'll open it for questions.
So Jenny, I thank you for the presentation, and I love your excitement and enthusiasm for branding, and I can understand why. I just had a question. The group that you're working with, the Pathfinders, they, at least pictures of their leadership did not remind me really of our whole community. They were all white, and that concerns me, and I'm wondering where the, that concerns me.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, and we haven't actually met the team who's working with us specifically. So their leadership, I believe, is all white. And that's, I think, something when we do this work and make sure that we are getting representative information, that's very much top of mind for us, is to make sure that we're kind of engaging with the entire community and not just creating something that's going to appeal to one group.
Yeah, and I do know that about our library, and that's something that I value, but I just wondered how that affects the gathering of building of the brands so that it really truly appeals, to everybody.
Yeah, and that's the oh, sorry.
Sorry, we're all trying to answer. I just wanted to say, I think that we're going to keep a close eye on this. And if it feels like it's not working or we're not getting the kind of inclusivity and diversity that we want to get, we'll switch gears. But I think you make a really good point. And sorry, I saw Marvin had his hand up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and thank you, Anne, for bringing that up. We're doing the same thing with the Morris. We're doing a rebranding for their anniversary coming up. Same questions were raised. But one of my questions is, will the firm meet with constituents of the community as they go about the branding? Will they have meetings within the different areas of the different branches to talk to people about how they feel about the library before they go forward? Is that part of their plan, or is that part of what you guys are going to insist upon, or how does that work?
That's more a part of strategic planning, which is also on deck this year. I don't know, Jenny, whether that's part of the branding strategy, but it will be definitely part of strategic planning to get into the community and find out what people really want of us and what they need us to do, and then to go forward and craft a plan that will see us through the next few years. But I'm sorry, Jenny, I didn't mean to take over from you, but I sort of see it as a little different work.
This builds on Marvin's question, but is part of their process, do you know if they use focus groups?
As we, especially after tomorrow, I sent them information that we had, like a recent GIS survey and some of our, whatever background research we had on our demographics and audiences. And if they don't feel that that has really painted the right picture, then they will conduct research outside of that. So I think tomorrow we'll get a better idea of, kind of the areas that we might need to get more information. And exactly to both Ann and Marvin's point as well, to make sure that we are representing all communities. So I think that it's not necessarily on the docket yet because they have to kind of design what the research process will be in order to, understand our branding.
I have a question also, the cost of this. None of this is ever cheap, I guess, but does this become part of the building or just expensed, or is there something budgeted I'm not aware of?
It comes out of the services line, Terry, and it's work that we knew was going to have to be done at some point in time. And so I think we're fine on where it's coming from or the cost of it. But yeah, you're right. It's not cheap, but we don't do this work very often either. It's been a long time since we did any branding work. And I think Pathfinders actually did our last logo, which has been in play for, I want to say 10 or 15 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to give us a more comprehensive look and feel to the documents that we put out there and that we've long needed. So it's well worth doing, especially getting ready to open this major. If we don't get this right, the whole opening and what we're trying to do in the community, we're going to be behind when we start.
I'm fully supportive of the idea, and I think,
Thank you.
like you said before, the timing is perfect for this.
Mhm.
Seems the timing is, well, couldn't be more perfect because we are emerging. And I'm really pleased with the questions that board members brought up because I think that Jenny and Deb will have a good insight about what to listen for and what to ask for tomorrow when they meet with Pathfinders.
Yeah, I just always watching the money, you know that.
That's part of what
we all need to do that. Yes.
I spent 50 years getting beat up over every cent. So.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Well, thank you again, Jenny and Deb, on that. With that, we'll move on to other business. And does anyone have any other business to bring up? Hearing none, it comes.
Do we need to approve? I think in the agenda, I don't have it actually open right now, but wasn't there
Don't tell me I forgot my favorite agenda item. Thank you, Alan. Thank you. Thank you. I just jumped ahead to the library board resolution to declare excess withdrawing library materials.
Right.
Could I hear a motion?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. I would move that we, you've done this for at least for 4 years I've been on the board. You've always made this motion. So I don't know, I'm not sure if I can do it, but I would move that we approve the request, the suggestion, or we approve the excess materials, the declaration of excess materials that be given to the Friends of the Library, as well as the declaration of, I think there's also a computer equipment that needs to be declared as excess, and that can be sold or disposed of in the ordinary course as set forth in the resolution that's attached to our minutes or to our board packet. So I move that that be approved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Let me call a roll. Thank you so much, Alan. Sally?
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye.
Augie?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Anne?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. And the library board resolution to declare excess withdrawn materials is approved. Thank you. Now we'll move on to other business. There's none listed. Does anyone have any other business to bring up at this time? With that, hearing none, we move to the agenda item of hearing of visitors. The members of the public are invited to address the library board And I think that we can allow at this time up to a 3-minute presentation by any of our visitors. Do I have a visitor who wishes to address the board at this time? Hearing none, we will move on to news and education items.
I just had a couple of things I wanted to mention, and that is College Goal Sunday is coming up on March 7th. That's a day when we've traditionally helped families complete their FAFSAs, and we aren't open on Sundays right now, but for that day, LaSalle and Tut branches are going to open in the afternoon from 2 to 4 to help with FAFSA completion. We're also taking questions regularly on those things as well. And then I just wanted to remind you, it's still not too late to sign up for an evening with Terry McMillan, the author, tonight at 6:30. We'll have her live. And if you haven't signed up, you can just go to our website and the carousel to register. So that should be a good time.
Yes, thank you very much. With that, you can see that our next library board meeting will be held Monday, March 22nd at 4:15. I will assume at this juncture that it will still be a virtual meeting. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I will go through the roll. Sally?
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye.
Augie?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Anne?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The meeting is adjourned. See you all next month, if not sooner. Thank you.
Thank
Well
you.
done,
Thank you.
Christine.
Night.
Bye, everybody.